Good morning or good afternoon, whatever time you guys are listening to this. Welcome back to the Layman's AI podcast. I am Adam,
And my name is Brian.
and today we are doing part two of our three-part series on the White House's plan for the AI action plan in the United States of America. And we are discussing Pillar Two today, and Pillar Two is going to be about build an American AI infrastructure. So that's going to impact a lot of us as laymen. But I did
Mhm.
want to note before we get started that I did a little bit of research and found out some of that bureaucratic red tape there, Brian, that we talked about in Pillar One.
hmm yeah, bureaucratic red tape. Everyone likes to hate the red tape. They think
Hmm.
the red tape is necessary. I'm kind of on record, and I think you're on record too, is that we need to make sure we have some, but not too much. So it's a very
Correct.
delicate balance. And what is the red tape exactly? I mean, because it's kind of a sort of rallying cry
Hmm.
for a certain crowd. I get it. You don't want too much red tape, and when you have too much, it angers people. But what did you find out, Adam? I'm curious to know.
So, where I messed up when I looked at the original plan is I did not look at the footnotes. And
Hmm
the footnotes clearly had in there, in that bureaucratic red tape section from Pillar One, it clearly had in there some act that the Biden administration put forth in October of 2023.
hmm
And I dove into that. And by dive in, I mean I asked Perplexity AI to summarize whatever that act was for me. And that's as far as I went because I was running a little short on time. And when it summarized it for me, it was basically similar. Some of the things were very similar to what's
hmm
in this plan that we've been talking about for three episodes now, or for, well, one episode, but we got two more to go.
Yeah,
And
we're
it
on a
was
second
some
to
of the
third.
same stuff. I couldn't find too many differences. So, again, I just want to reach out to any listener
Hmm
if you understand what we're talking about or what the White House is talking about with that red tape, the bureaucratic stuff, please reach out to us and let us know. This is second week in a row.
hmm
We're going to do another appeal to you. Please let us know what this is because I'm a little perplexed at this point. I hope it's not just some rhetoric because this is a pretty important plan as far as our country's
Yeah.
future goes. So,
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, political climate, and pretty much I can probably say all political climate, everyone comes in and says, this is mine and this is not yours. And when you like look at the nitty gritty, it's not a whole lot different. And, I'm not going to like single this out as, an instance of this, case happening.
right, right.
This is, goes back political ages, ages in political
Oh, yes.
infrastructure. Everyone's trying to take credit for something, and this goes to all levels of government, federal, state, local.
Yes.
People are trying to say, "Oh, this is mine. This is mine." They try to put their stamp on it. Well, not totally yours, but it's political stuff. I mean,
Yes.
we're trying to stay apolitical. We're not endorsing any sort of political viewpoints or anything like that.
Correct.
But I will say that everybody's guilty in this aspect right here.
Yeah,
It's
I'd have to
basically trying
agree.
to saying it's yours when it's everybody's.
I mean, it does sound like children at times. That's why I am hoping that somebody comes forward and tells us, hey, here's something you don't know. And
hmm
here's like an act that was passed that is relevant to the West Coast, but maybe not the
hmm
East Coast or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Because right now it seems like they're arguing over whether or not you could triple stamp a double stamp as you would in, what was that movie? You can't triple stamp a double stamp. Dumb and Dumber is what
Oh yeah, yeah.
it
I remember
it's kind of coming
that.
off like that to me as a person who just took a
Yeah.
couple AI tools and did some little research, and I mean minimal research, but I looked at it and I'm going,
hmm
this is some of these bullet points are the exact same thing that are in America's AI
Yeah.
action plan. So a little weird.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, pretty much. Hey, everyone's got to have their rallying cry, and I guess we all need to stay motivated somehow. But
good point.
either way, let's get into the second pillar, shall we?
All right, let's dive into pillar two. What do we got? Build
Yeah.
American AI infrastructure, correct?
Yes, this is the second pillar of the America's AI Action Plan that was just basically laid out. And this is, Pillar two, infrastructure. And first part of this, first kind of point here, and Adam, you used Gemini or Perplexity
Oh,
to
correct.
bullet
We
point
definitely want
these.
to say this was a Gemini. This was Gemini's
Okay,
doing our summaries of the key points of the pillars, not us.
okay.
This is Gemini. Yes.
Yes, yes. Okay. So we just like we said, we've mentioned we want to give AI credit where credit is due, so we're going to keep true to that form. But anyway, first point of this is streamlined permitting, creating faster permitting processes for data centers, semiconductor manufacturing facilities, and energy infrastructure. I mean that's basically, you know, pretty good. I'd say, streamlining it, making it more efficient. There's a lot of I do this, you do that type stuff in here, but I don't really have a problem with you know, streamlining the process. I don't know
Yeah,
kind of any details here though.
I don't know too many details that it goes into. I will say that we're not surprised by this. I feel like
Hmm.
this is a standard key point with AI happening regardless. I
Hmm.
mean, the permitting processes, I'm not exactly sure what that would entail for the data centers.
Hmm.
But as far as semiconductor manufacturing facilities go, we're well aware that's going to be necessary. And then the energy infrastructure, I think you and
Hmm.
I have only briefly discussed in this podcast what kind of energy goes into every time you do something with AI.
Yeah.
It's probably taken up a lot more energy and computation power than we realize has ever happened before.
Yeah, I've read a few things on this and everything, and they were talking about how much energy an infra or what should I say, an LLM prompt uses. And they
Right.
actually like a lot of it was napkin math that they were calculating with, and it's a lot in some cases a lot less than they thought. So
Oh.
I mean napkin math, that's where you just kind of jot down your ideas, brainstorm, and then once you get into the real math, that's when you start calculating the actual numbers that are coming in. Um, but semiconductor manufacturing facilities, it's trying to like streamline the permitting process. I know we have one coming to Ohio here. The
Okay.
IBM, I think, was creating a semiconductor factory in Columbus. It has been kind of slowed down a few times, which a project of that scale, I can't really say that I'm surprised, to be honest with you,
Hmm.
because it's there's a lot of reasoning behind it. So I think bringing these types of manufacturing facilities here are good. A lot of these streamlining processes, they're kind of going past. I think one of it was expedite environmental permitting. Um, kind of Clean Water Act, Clean Air Act, which I don't understand why people don't want clean water or clean air, but I'm not
It's
sure
kind
like
of
what exactly they're
important
going to
long
do.
term to have clean water, clean air.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. So
maybe
I
it's
don't.
maybe it's because we grew up in Cleveland where our river has caught fire several times, but like clean water is
Hmm.
very important, guys. I
Yeah, yeah,
mean,
or else it's going to catch on fire. So I mean, I don't know if there's some oversights to those acts or anything. There very well may be. I mean, there may be
mhm.
some things right there, but none of them are really specified. I don't know if it's trying to trim down on the red tape, or if it's just say, screw that, we don't want to listen to this. I think it might be somewhere in between though.
I feel like if there's a middle ground on that one, this
Hmm.
plane's going to hit that middle ground where
Yeah.
sometimes they're going to say, okay, let's go by the book. And other times they're going to say, no, this is important. So we're making it happen now. And then the book can adjust afterwards.
Hmm. Yeah. So yeah, it should be interesting there. Federal lands available for data center construction and construction of power generation. I'm just kind of going through some points here.
Right.
Um, Kind of careful on that. I don't know what kind of federal lands we're talking about. Um, how large of infrastructure we actually need for some of these data centers. I don't know if we need
And it,
federal lands for this.
I'm glad you said that because I think that goes back to what we talked about in the previous episode. Is some of this plan is so vague.
Hmm.
I really wanted some specifics, and this is another case where give me an idea of what you're talking about. Like put for
Yeah.
example, we can use X lands and that aren't being used right now to power and generate da 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 da.
Hmm.
Like I said, it keeps going back to that. It was a little vague at times, and this is one of those times I wished it was a little more specific.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm gonna throw out an idea, just kind of
Oh,
like throw it out there. Everyone's trying to find out where to build these data centers. As last I heard, there's a lot of abandoned skyscrapers in big cities, or near abandoned skyscrapers, are there not?
I believe there is.
What if we got some of these and turn them into data centers for that city?
That's another good point.
I mean,
I
microgridding data
like that.
centers might be a good idea.
And I'll tell you this too. I know for a fact there's a lot of abandoned steel mills across this country that nobody's
Hmm.
using right now. That's a lot of
Yeah.
land. That's a lot of area.
A lot of
And
abandoned malls, a
there's a
lot of
lot of
abandoned,
abandoned malls.
lot
Yeah.
of abandoned warehouses.
Yeah.
Why not just gut these abandoned properties?
Yeah.
I mean, abandoned properties are something I always felt that the government should, take action on. Whether or not you need to like lay out a building to make it a more attractive sale, like bank-owned properties. Everyone
Hmm.
knows that those can be a burden on communities and what have you.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. If you're
Maybe.
not doing anything with the property, it just invites this usually it invites the wrong type of character.
Yeah, and invites, crime and everything, kind of flop houses, so to say, for a lack of better sense of the word.
Right.
But, why don't we just integrate existing infrastructure that's not being used and turn into like micro data centers instead of like giant central data centers? Um, could attract more people to work there. Um, I just think that, building them closer to the metropolitan areas are a good thing. But
I agree.
that's
I
in, I don't
agree.
know why we exactly need federal lands, but maybe maybe some of it, I guess, but I don't know what federal lands they're talking about.
I don't know what they're talking about either. So I'm curious, is there more federal lands than I know about? Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Oh yeah, there's
Yeah,
definitely some.
there's definitely some. But I'll tell you what, the Rust Belt would be a good opportunity for this.
Yes,
I mean
definitely.
that. I mean, I know things are bouncing back, but they could be better, and this would be a good opportunity for that.
Absolutely.
And if you're a political person, most of those Rust Belt states are swing states now. Just throwing that out
Hmm.
there.
Yeah, exactly.
uh, let's
Exactly.
let's go to the next one. Grid
Hmm.
modernization. So, grid modernization is develop and upgrade the U.S. electric grid to meet the energy needs and demands of AI innovation.
Yeah. So
Yep.
this is also a political hot topic
Hmm.
of like what we need to use as energy. Uh so a lot of people want wind, solar, just make the solar farms, wind farms. A lot of people are saying no, we're going back, we should stick with the
Yes.
fossil fuels, like mine more coal, et cetera, et cetera. I think that nobody's talking about like kind of like an in-between type thing. Um, Whereas, solar and wind, I personally am not a fan of solar farms and wind farms. I think they're a massive use of property, but I do think that using it to supplement the power grid is a very good idea personally.
I read somewhere that there's concern with AI in the power grid. There's
Hmm.
concern that solar and wind, and there was another green energy that they said as well,
Hmm.
simply aren't going to be able to keep up with the demand that like nuclear, coal, burning the
Hmm.
fossil fuels will be able to realistically
Hmm.
keep up with the demand that's coming. And
Yeah.
that is unfortunate. I mean, I could speak personally. The county I live in Pennsylvania is going through an energy upgrade because people have
Hmm.
moved to our area so much. They are updating the infrastructure grid and the energy grid, and
Hmm.
it's nice, but it is still heavily based on the traditional path of coal and
Yeah.
nuclear power as opposed to solar and wind. It's
Yeah.
just, I don't think solar and wind is where we want it to be at this time.
No, it's further along than it has been,
Right.
but I mean, one thing like that's like goes back to the whole thing of clean energy. I know like the green initiatives are a big political flashpoint as well. However, I will say clean energy, nuclear is very clean if it's done correctly. I mean, everyone
Hmm.
has the ghost of Chernobyl kind of haunt the idea of nuclear power plants and everything, but it is a very clean burning energy.
It
And when
is.
you drive by a nuclear plant and you see those big white clouds, that's steam. That's not smoke. So, like, pe people need to realize that that's not actually smoke, that's steam because of how much you have to cool a reactor. Now, there's been a lot of advances in nuclear energy where you can,
Yeah.
reuse the plutonium, reuse, so it doesn't have to go to waste. And, nuclear waste is a concern. I happen to, my wife's cousin happens to work into that industry, and they have to like, it's a
Oh,
very complex manage process,
I
and
can
it's
imagine
not
there's a lot
simple.
of red tape in that, and probably for very good reason.
Yeah, you need a lot of red tape when you're dealing with nuclear
And
waste,
you're
but
dealing with some very dangerous stuff there.
another interesting point I will make, Chernobyl. There's actually a black fungus in Chernobyl that is consuming the nuclear waste. I don't know if
Really?
you've heard about that. Yeah, it was a
No.
very interesting thing. It's like this black fungus that now scientists are starting to study because it's like, oh, if we got this fungus that can consume this nuclear waste, that's a good idea.
I agree.
Yeah.
What else can it do? And then
Yeah.
now I got to ask, who did the study and how did they study this?
Yeah,
Oh gosh.
it was an interesting thing. It was kind of nice, but either way, grid modernization, I agree with it. I don't know. Do you remember the blackout in 2003 that wiped out power to half the country?
Yes, I got a fun fact about that.
Okay,
I got screamed at by my dad during it.
really?
Yeah, I got home from work and there was power was out, and I think the power was only out for about an hour, and I just said, "All right, I'll take a nap." I just gotten home from working at the service department,
Mm-hmm.
and so I took a nap. I didn't know what was going on. I was,
Mm-hmm.
right out of high school. I was in
Yeah.
college. I was at home. I was doing some summer work, and all of a sudden my door swings open, and my dad is screaming at me, going, "We're in the middle of a national emergency, and you're taking a nap." And I was just like, "What do you want me to do, Dad?" Like, I didn't know the
Plug
power's
it
out. I
in,
didn't
plug it
know.
in. Want
Yeah.
to plug the power grid back in? But the interesting thing I bring up about that is that if you remember, it was all traced back to a few bad components in Ohio,
Was it
and
bad
like
components in
yeah,
Ohio? I thought it was some generator outside of Niagara Falls.
it was something very small.
It was
It
very
was
small. Okay.
it was a very small thing, and that wipes out half the grid. That's kind of a scary thing to me. So I think decentralizing the grid would be a good idea. And I'm going to throw out the idea of microgridding. I don't know if you're
Hmm.
really kind of familiar with the idea or anything, but you basically, create more power sources at the source of the power, so that maybe I have a uh, like solar panels on every house in this block or everything that can
Hmm.
create a small percentage. Maybe I have, an energy storage facility in my city that, it can like, store energy and what have you. And you could use like solar and wind to supplement that storage so it doesn't have to tap the grid as much and what have you. So I think the idea of microgridding is ultimately what we're going to need to do in order to modernize it.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And personally, I'm always worried about a terror attack because we've heard
Hmm.
on many podcasts and many things that our grid itself is due for an update. It has been for a long time. So
Hmm.
I think all of us, regardless of political party, supports a modernization of our power grid. And
Yeah.
so, you know what? Both parties, go ahead, go at it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Make it happen.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think we're both in agreement that we need to modernize the grid, but we need
Yep.
to like come up with a very complex plan because going all in on one source of energy, I don't think is a good idea. But
I
modernized
agree.
nuclear is going to have to be at the forefront, and I think people are going to have
Hmm.
to realize that. But moving on from that, semiconductor manufacturing,
Yes.
revitalize U.S.
Yes.
semiconductor industry to create jobs and secure supply chains. This reminds me of the CHIPS Act.
That's right.
This does remind me of the CHIPS Act. That was very bipartisan,
Yeah.
actually, and that's where I kind of mentioned the semiconductor factory in Ohio. Which, I mean, honestly, like this is an agreement. I'm not saying I, don't agree on any of this or what have you. But this sounds like just reiterating the CHIPS Act. I don't know.
Yeah. When I will share when we did our little homework, when I did
Hmm.
what did I like? Pillar two, my homework here.
Hmm.
The part that I liked the most was specifically talking about domesticating our semiconductors,
Yeah.
like domestic manufacturing of our own semiconductors.
Hmm.
That was a very big deal for me in terms of national security, in
Yeah.
terms of jobs that are going to be coming, because I think the as we talk about these other bullet points that are coming up shortly,
Hmm.
you're going to see that it's almost as if the federal government knows that there's going to be a massive unemployment, and at some
Hmm.
point we got to find new jobs for people. Working in
Yeah.
semiconductor manufacturing is going to be one of those new realms that is realistic and possible to jump into as a result of losing your job.
Yeah, it's it's a big industry. They're gonna have to manufacture. Yeah, I can't say I disagree with it. But one kind of thing I would like to reiterate, or would like to say, I should say, or should mention, is that supp global supply chains are very complex. They're very well
Right.
established, and it's not an easy way to just, flip a switch, make it in America. Like there's a lot of
Correct. There's a lot that
like
goes into it, the
there
supply chains and everything. Yeah.
yeah, and I don't think anyone disagrees with the Make in America movement. I mean, whatever political spectrum you fall on, I'm sure you're like, okay, yeah, let's make it in America. I agree with that.
Right.
Like how you go about it, there's where the whole debate comes in.
Yeah.
But it's a very complex thing, and it starts with semiconductors, but where's the raw materials come from and everything like that, and some raw materials come from other countries, rare earth metals. Who has the most rare earth metals? Hint, China. Australia has a lot too. I think Canada might have some. I can't remember. I might be throwing out Canada as a falsity
Oh.
there, but I do know Australia had a good amount. I know Ukraine had a lot of minerals too,
Yeah, I
which
thought Ukraine. I've heard hearing this lately on a podcast, and I don't want to chalk it up to conspiracy theorists, but like
yeah,
Ukraine, the Middle East, a
hmm
lot of these places where there's war going on right now, there are a lot of these rare minerals that are used to make these very
yeah.
important futuristic devices we're going to need.
Yeah, well, Ukraine, that's kind of the hidden reason I think Putin invaded
Oh,
Ukraine was for these rare minerals. I'm not going to get too much into that, but it's I mean it's very critical
hmm.
to find the alliances and what have you, and establish diplomacy, I would say, rather than confrontation, which I'm shooting t taking a long shot there. I can't really think about it there, but no, it's complex is my only point here.
Right.
It's a very complex process. Like they wanted to make certain Apple products in the US, but there was one screw that Apple products made that they could only be made somewhere else. And that's what's holding up a lot of making it in America. Like these tiny screws
It
that
blows
could
your mind. In
it
today's day and age,
I can't believe it. Like that's how complex these things are.
with AI,
So
we can't figure this out how to make
yeah,
that screw. Like it blows
exactly.
your mind.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say it's very complex and be patient.
Yeah.
That's gonna be my only point there.
Yes. But and then the next bullet point, it's probably gonna be similar.
Hmm.
High security data centers establish technical standards for and excuse me, establish technical standards for and build high security data centers for military and intelligence use.
Yeah, that kind of goes without saying, I'd say.
Yeah.
I would say AI is gonna be critical to national security.
Yes. I
Um,
feel like this is a little bit of some of the stuff we mentioned in the last episode where this stuff's already
yeah,
happening, but we put it in the plan to make sure that it's
on top
there.
of it, like it's in
Yeah.
our face and everything, but
Yeah, yeah, you can't tell me they're not tracking data on a lot of stuff.
yeah, that's
And they should be. They
definitely.
should be. I'm
Hmm.
not saying that's anything bad. It goes back to 2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
We're being tracked, and they're tracking data, and we do need to have a high security, though.
Hmm.
It is a big deal. I do think data is possibly going to be a resource that countries could fight over in the future. I know that
Hmm.
sounds crazy, but the countries that have the most data are going to have the most power in the world.
It's
Scary as that may be.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like data is it's a new gold rush essentially, and what
Yeah.
you can do with that data is very critical. But yeah, I mean technical standards, high security, obviously high security for military intelligence.
Hmm.
I really think that kind of goes without saying that we need to do that. So I'm not sure
Yeah.
what they're going to do. Obviously, you can't say everything because of you can't tell everybody what we're going to do with our national security and what have you. So I could forgive this one for being vague because you want to do it, but again, this one seems kind of like a rally cry to me.
Yeah. And
But
then the next one is probably the one of all the pillars and of all the bullet points
mhm,
that I wanted to hear the most about,
mhm,
and it just didn't happen. It
mhm,
was probably one of the vaguer ones, but it's a skilled workforce.
mhm.
Train a skilled workforce for high-paying occupations needed to build and maintain AI infrastructure. I think we all agree with this. It makes sense. We all know that AI is not going anywhere. As Brian said
Mhm.
many times, it's not going back into the bottle.
There's no more bottle.
Right? There's no more bottle. There's no bottle
Mhm,
for it to go into.
mhm.
The how part for this has my mind as an educator just rolling because
Yeah.
education looks the exact same as it did in 1920. The metrics we use to measure success in our industry
Mhm,
is not adequate for the future.
mhm.
So, how are we going to design this skilled workforce? And this is a big question mark for me.
Well, I think we just need to identify what skills you need. I
Yeah.
mean, AI literacy, I think this went back to pillar one, develop AI literacy,
Yeah.
which kind of, goes back to that whole thing. And uh man, it's hard to like tell like really what we need with like an AI workforce. Knowing how to prompt, I think, is like going to be the most basic skill, essentially.
I think it's a very basic skill, but I also think 10 years from now, the AI will prompt. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, we'll be talking about prompt engineering to our grandkids, like we talked about the rotary phone, how that used to work when we were kids.
Yeah, yeah. So
That's
I
what I
think,
think is going to happen with prompt engineering.
yeah, so it's kind of tricky to say, a skilled workforce. Yeah, AI infrastructure. I mean, there's going to be new jobs that we didn't even know existed,
Right.
essentially. Like, software development. It used to be the hottest job in the world. Now it's kind of cooled off because, you know, AI is allowing one software engineer to do the work of three software engineers.
Right.
So that existing software engineer is taking, two entry-level jobs away because they can do it so much faster. But how do we use AI? And I think that's kind of, the ultimate question if we want to like talk about what a skilled workforce is. How
Yeah.
are we going to use this? Like, what are we going to do this for? Are we going to keep, prompting ChatGPT dumb questions? Or I mean, that's kind of what it is right now. And it reminds me of the early days of 3D printing, where everyone was just making
Oh,
dumb little widgets.
yeah.
The Rocktopus. I'm sure you've seen images of that, which is very cool. But it's like, what are you supposed to do with this? Now people are starting to actually 3D print houses, so that's where the technology
That
is
is pretty
advanced.
cool. If you're
Yeah,
listening right now and you haven't seen any YouTube videos on that or even any social media videos, type that in. It's pretty neat.
yeah. I I
It's
I
pretty
I
neat.
want one, man. I'm telling you, I want to live in one. But
You know
either
what?
way,
I just thought of this. One of the most unique ways I've used a 3D printer, not I, but when I was a principal, we had an incident of vandalism. Imagine that. And
hmm
somebody stole the fire exit signs. And because they were these illuminated signs, they did require a special screw that we couldn't order. So we 3D printed them
Yeah.
and it
There you
worked.
go.
So
There
maybe
you go.
Apple can get a 3D printer and start printing those screws. I don't know.
Perhaps. I mean,
It,
but yeah, these are tiny, tiny screws
yeah, I
too.
know. Yeah, I know.
So it's like that technology needs to advance. But I mean, yeah, like kind of the point is like we don't know what kind of jobs are going to come about, and
Yeah.
that goes back. I think pillar one, AI literacy is kind of the thing. Like we need to start, teaching kids what algorithms are. We need to start teaching kids the importance of data, like how AI like is trained and everything, and using AI tools as a tool. I think we're going to mention that again, and that's where like a lot of the skilled workforce comes into play because it's a whole new set of skills that we don't quite know yet.
Right. And time will tell where it's going to take us
Yeah,
in terms of what that's going to look like.
yes. But I think I think one thing kind of I didn't see was the Department of Education. Okay, the Department of Education is in here. I think it would be good for the Department of Education to identify what skills to teach throughout elementary school, middle school, high school, college, etc.
I'll share with you as an insider to education
Ooh,
and somebody who's done doctoral work on
okay.
industry based credentials.
Hmm.
I think what needs to happen is these AI places need to tell educators these are the skills we need out of
Hmm.
our kids, and the educators need to meet with them and so they could see what it looks like.
Hmm.
And then, for God's sakes, leave the educators alone. Let them
Hmm.
get the kids to where they need to go. They'll get there. They are. There's too much outside. There's too many outside hands in education nowadays,
Yeah.
manipulating what goes on in the classrooms and
Hmm.
manipulating what standards have to be teached, or excuse me, have to be taught. And
Hmm.
it just drives me nuts. And I don't want to get on a soapbox, but I do believe that the business and industry needs to tell education, this is what we need you to do. Make it
Hmm.
happen.
Yeah, just
And
teach those raw skills
yeah,
essentially, and
yeah,
you know
give
they can come up
educators the
with it.
opportunity to go see what it looks like in the workplace. It's a big
Yeah,
deal.
yeah, and
It's
I
a
think
big
that's
deal.
yeah, and I think that's where the skilled workforce starts is like
Yes.
educating these AI skills, and I think that's one
Yes.
of the big ones right there.
Yeah.
But either way, moving on to the next point, cybersecurity.
Uh-huh.
Bolster the cybersecurity of critical infrastructure by promoting the adoption of AI-enabled defense tools and security by design AI systems. Um, Sounds a lot like high security data centers to me.
That's exactly what it sounds like. You can't
It,
tell me we're
it's
not already doing this.
Yeah, I mean, not that it's a bad thing, but
It's
it's
not.
definitely something. And you know, just to reiterate, these points that we're reading off one by one are generated by AI. You know, with a
Right.
synopsis of what this action plan is. But to me, the cybersecurity point and the high security data centers point, that basically kind of the same thing to me. I don't know.
Yeah, this is one of those sections that when we read through it, it's the same. It's bipartisan on this one.
Hmm.
It's common sense. Yes, if AI can help us with our cybersecurity, then amen. Let's use it. Let's make things better. I don't foresee any. I mean, other than it not working and not being consistent, I don't see any major issues with this. I think we all know that
Yeah.
it's going to be necessary in the future.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean,
it was a
and
safe thing to put in the plan, is a good way to
yeah,
put this.
yeah, cybersecurity, it's like always evolving. If you know anything about cybersecurity, I know very little, but it's a constantly evolving process. And now with AI, we're gonna need AI to help AI
Uh-huh.
hacking. So it's gonna be kind of spy versus spy with your AI versus AI tools.
And
It's just a whole new level of
I know
security.
prior to AI development, this is something the United States has had its thumb on. I have a former student who graduated from the high school that I was principal at, and
Hmm.
he works in the National Guard. He does do National Guard. He serves our country, and he
Hmm.
does serve it in cybersecurity.
Okay.
So instead of him getting called to do traditional labor, maybe warlike stuff that we think of, he actually goes and sits in front of a computer on the weekends when he needs to serve, and he's helping us with cybersecurity. So
Okay.
I do know that it's already been out there. They're doing this stuff, and I agree. If AI can help bolster it and make it stronger, then let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
kind of where it comes right there. Uh but anyway, final point, incident response. Develop a mature federal capacity for responding to AI incidents and failures. Um
Mm.
yeah, kind of goes without saying. Really, it's
Yes, yeah, I'd love it if it was more, what can we do to prevent that from happening?
yeah, AI related incidents. I mean that has that's very wide open right there.
It
How to
is.
respond to these failures and everything. It's kind of like anything really, and that goes with cybersecurity, I guess.
It does. When I originally read the title for this section in the plan, I
Mm-hmm.
thought this was going to be about how, as we can nationally use AI to help us maybe respond in a FEMA situation. So if there's a hurricane, like how can we use AI to
Mm-hmm.
respond better? And it really took on the how do we respond when AI does something wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And I said to myself, "Oh dear, we don't have anything in place.
Mm-hmm.
Who's to blame if bank accounts are messed up one time because of an AI tool messes up something for a software system for Bank of America?" That's just an example.
Yeah.
Who's responsible? And then how do you respond to that?
Um, yeah, I mean, it could kind of be. I guess we're sort of downplaying the idea of it a little bit, but maybe we do need to kind of guess or develop a specific response kind
Right.
of layout to what kind of instance, like what is an AI related incident? What's an AI related failure? How do we, fix this or what have you?
Right.
And I would say, my experience in the automation industry is they have a redundancy plan, like redundancy servers, redundancy controllers, and everything. So if something fails, the other one picks up right where it's left off. And you can
Oh,
it goes smooth because you can
okay.
imagine a modern manufacturing facility, very complex, a
Yeah.
lot of moving
A
parts and
lot of moving
everything.
parts. Yep.
And if it shuts down a whole line. You're looking at a lot of bad product getting thrown out, and you're looking at a lot of lost money. So what a lot of these like very large companies do is they'll develop a redundancy system, and with that redundancy system, it picks up where it fit, where like it starts going. The primary fails, but the redundancy is like, okay, I got you, and it picks up.
Okay.
Basically bringing in, let's say your running back goes down with an injury or what have you, and he's hurting. Your backup comes in, and if your backup's capable, it can come in and carry the team until you know, your primary starting running back walks it off or what have you. I
I
mean, I'm
like
kind of
that.
using a sports analogy right there.
I
So
like that analogy.
yeah, so maybe like redundancy systems are what's needed. I would like to see that more put into there, but that would be kind of my recommendation, if that's what they're, thinking of essentially, but might already be thought of actually.
Yeah. I was just hopeful when I read the title that it was going to be much more about responding to crises that are
Hmm.
in the physical world.
Yeah.
How can we use AI to help us to respond when there is a hurricane that does some devastation and things like that?
Hmm.
But I certainly understand the need for the redundancy factor that you brought up,
Yeah.
the need for pick up where you left off. I certainly
Yeah.
understand that so that things move forward and don't get juggled because of an error that happened because of AI.
Yeah, so that's going to be kind of tricky right there, and that's just kind of, what I kind of interpret with this. So maybe that's kind of what somebody's already planning in the background. I'm sure there is. I'm sure with a lot of these servers and everything, you have to have a contingency plan if one of them fails and everything to keep everything moving. So
And that makes sense.
yeah. So Pillar two. I
Pillar
think that
two.
comes up with kind of comes to the end of our discussion here. I don't know, Adam, your thoughts?
For me, the big takeaway, I liked Pillar Two more than Pillar One.
Hmm.
I feel, and I don't like using that term, but I do think the plan is showing that there is recognition of a need to retrain, retool, revitalize the American economy and the American worker.
Hmm.
And I do believe we've talked about this. I do believe there is going to be some massive unemployment coming up in the next couple of years as a result of AI. But I
Hmm.
think there's going to be jobs to replace them. I don't think that's BS. I don't think that's something they say to make you feel good. I
Hmm.
think that's the case. And in this plan, semiconductor manufacturing, high security
Hmm.
data centers, a skilled workforce,
Hmm.
the government's aware of it. And
Hmm.
and ironically, that does make me feel a little better, even though the government has fumbled many things. They screwed up gas cans, as far as I'm concerned. They were absolutely fantastic until they got their hands on it. But
Hmm.
nevertheless, that's my big takeaway. I was Pillar Two to me was a lot more looking out for the people in general. How
Yeah.
about you, Brian? What was your big takeaway?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's identifying, the need to upgrade our infrastructure essentially, which is, plainly listed right there.
Right.
Permitting, streamlining permitting. I think that's just trying to get things done quicker. If they do it too quick though, that's kind of my issue right there.
Right.
But yeah, like upgrading the grid, manufacturing, data centers, security. I think those are kind of like the big ones right there is to try to, make sure, identifying what we need to do to get AI, more AI power, I should say, because it's going to use a lot more energy. Our grid
Yeah.
is pretty fragile. I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
sugarcoat it or anything like that, and it needs to be updated. I wish we could discuss it more logically as opposed to like industry influenced ideas. I
Yeah,
feel like there's a lot of industry influence in a lot of the ideas that are
I
coming
agree.
out.
I agree. It would be great to get a guest on who maybe knows like what's needed to update the infrastructure for the AI.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh, it'd be great to get a guest. I don't even know where to find somebody like that.
I don't know. I mean, maybe someone would reach out. That would be
Yeah,
nice.
maybe
But
somebody will reach out to us. That'll be
yes,
nice.
yeah. I mean, we're open to listen to people. I mean, we don't claim
Yes.
to know everything. We just kind of have some ideas that we try to do or try to purvey. So, but yeah, and also skilled workforce. We all need to learn AI. I
Right.
think, and that's kind of our purpose of this podcast is to try to, bring ideas like more of a conversation about AI, like not at a tech level. I understand like when people start talking like high-end tech talk, it can be kind of off-putting, and people just don't want to hear it.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of why we started this podcast was to kind of
Yeah.
hopefully be part of the conversation, not be the conversation, but be part of it.
Correct. Correct.
Correct.
And explain it so that people understand it.
Yes, definitely. But either way, I think that concludes our episode tonight. I'd like to thank everybody for listening to part two of our three-part series on America's AI Action Plan. My name is Brian,
And I am Adam.
and we will see you next time for part three.